And not that I should be surprised, because these particular people would be people who would show up for me because that's just the kind of people they are. But
actor who really brought, realness to television, playing a great character, playing a great son on the Cosby Show.
With certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, all these brothers gotta wear a dress.
When the news broke that Malcolm-Jamal Warner had suddenly passed, Hollywood froze in shock. What everyone thought was a tragic loss quickly flipped into one of the most chilling and jaw-dropping conspiracies the industry has ever seen. At first, it was just quiet whispers in the corners, but soon the gossip erupted like a firestorm that nobody could contain. Everything exploded when Ice Cube himself stepped into the mix and dropped claims so heavy they shook Black Hollywood straight to its core. Malcolm, the star who became a household name as Theo Huxtable, was suddenly at the center of a sinister tale, pointing fingers at none other than Bill Cosby, the same man who once gave him his big break. According to Cube, Malcolm's death wasn't just some random twist of fate. He says it was a setup, a calculated hit to silence him before he could spill the truth.
Actor who really brought, realness to television, playing a great character, playing a great son on the Cosby Show.
And Cube isn't just tossing out wild talk. He's pointing to receipts, leaked convos, industry secrets, chilling eyewitness accounts, and even whispers of video evidence. Word is, Malcolm had been working on a memoir so explosive it could have blown the roof off decades of hidden scandals. This wasn't just about Cosby's dirty double life finally being dragged into the light. Malcolm's book was set to expose a whole network of cover-ups, shady deals, and powerful names who allegedly helped bury Cosby's secrets for years. Rumor has it Malcolm had everything: emails, recordings, files, even a list of executives who allegedly protected Cosby at all costs.
What do you hate about acting?
the politics,
Of getting the role, or once you have the role?
all of it. Let's take the audition process. You come in and you have to bring your A game,
Oh my God.
knowing that you may not get this role based on things that have nothing to do with your A game. You might be too tall, might be too short, might be too dark, might be too light. They may decide they want to go Hispanic, or they want to go woman. Or you may remind the casting director of their brother-in-law, right? So you know that, but you still have to come in and bring your A game every single time. And your A game gets rejected. I've got a great track record, right?
Yeah.
I'm fortunate and blessed enough to work as much as I've worked my career. I probably have an 85 to 90% rejection rate.
Yeah, that's about normal for a strong working actor.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets darker. Malcolm's own mother is convinced her son didn't just die. She swears he was silenced right as he was about to reveal it all. Ice Cube says Malcolm's final days were full of paranoia and fear, with late-night calls, quiet talks, and Malcolm confessing he felt eyes on him everywhere. He told Cube he was being followed, maybe even threatened. According to Cube, Malcolm straight up told him, "They're trying to shut me up now." Those words hit hard, because not long after, Malcolm was gone just like that.
Right now, it's a moment of extreme gratitude. There are people showing up for me in a way that makes me a little emotional. I don't need to talk about, what the thing is, but people are showing up for me, and not that I should be surprised, because these particular people would be people who would show up for me because that's just the kind of people they are. But it still doesn't negate the gratitude, whatever emotions it brings up, being touched in my heart and my soul. It's just really cool. And it makes me think about, it wants me to share. Be a good person, right? Be good to others. Be of service.
And here's where things turned downright eerie. After his death, the media went silent. No major investigation, no official autopsy report released, no grieving family press conference, no deep dive coverage from big networks, just pure silence. The kind of silence that feels forced, like somebody with power wanted the whole thing buried fast. Ice Cube wasn't buying it, and neither are the fans. Social media is going crazy with hashtags like #JusticeForMalcolm and #CubeToldTheTruth. And the movement is only getting louder by the day. Cube isn't holding back either. He says Cosby wasn't just the friendly sitcom dad everyone adored. He was a puppet master behind the curtain, a man who smiled for cameras but allegedly pulled strings in the shadows, controlling narratives, scrubbing evidence, and shutting down anyone who dared to cross him. When Malcolm started pulling back, rejecting strange offers, canceling last-minute meetings, and refusing to play Cosby's game, that's when things turned dangerous. Suddenly, projects dried up, doors closed, and insiders say Malcolm was living in constant paranoia, terrified for his safety. He knew something bigger was coming for him. Word got out that Malcolm wasn't only planning a memoir, he was piecing together a full-blown documentary. This project was supposed to blow past Cosby's scandals and dig into Hollywood's ugliest truths, exposing the racial gatekeeping, the shady systems, and the so-called shadow bosses who really run the game behind closed doors. And it gets even darker. Whispers say there was a Hollywood fixer in the mix, someone with ties to corporate suits and the underground side of the industry. The chilling rumor, that fixer's job was to make sure Malcolm never spoke again, permanently. Tell me that doesn't sound like a blockbuster thriller, except this time it's real life. But when you line it up with the bizarre way everything went down, it feels way too real to ignore. People close to Malcolm say in his final months, he turned into a ghost, dodging calls, barely stepping outside, and side-eyeing even longtime friends like he didn't know who to trust anymore.
How are you feeling about it?
Great. I'm happy we got through it. Like for 5 years, like I want a series, and you never think it's gonna hit number one. I mean, we soared straight to the top, and to be number one consistently, to be in the top 5 consistently, that's great. And I'm glad we got through the first year.
How long do you hope this goes on?
For a long time, until the audience stops laughing. And with Bill Cosby, I doubt they ever stop laughing.
What about for you? What has he taught you?
Oh, wow. There's nothing I can say specific. There are things that he's helped me with, throughout the whole year. If it has something to do with the script, so if I have personal problems or whatever, it's variations of things. And I'm very grateful.
And what about this party? Seems like a pretty good celebration.
Yes. We're celebrating for another year.
The detail that really shook fans? Bill Cosby, the man who played Malcolm's TV dad for more than a decade, stayed silent. No tribute, no condolences, not even a simple word, just pure silence. And Ice Cube says that silence is screaming. In a leaked sit-down, Cube dropped another bomb. He claims Malcolm was handled before he could ever tell his side. Even wilder, Cube says there's a recorded phone call from someone inside Cosby's inner circle labeling Malcolm as a problem that had to be taken care of before he spilled the truth. That tape hasn't surfaced yet, but if it ever does, Hollywood won't just shake, it'll crumble. Meanwhile, Ice Cube himself has been catching scary heat. Strange cars parked outside his crib, creepy anonymous emails telling him to back off, and even shady threats that sound like something ripped straight out of a mob flick. But Cube isn't flinching. Word is he's stacking up evidence for a documentary that'll flip the narrative, showing Malcolm's death not as an accident, but as part of a massive cover-up stretching deep into the industry. And here's the real twist. Before he passed, Malcolm had ties to certain nonprofits, but insiders claim these weren't just normal charities. They were allegedly funnels, money washing machines used to push hush funds, cover up scandals, and polish up the reputations of powerful names whenever their dirt started leaking. The wildest part? Sources say Cosby himself was desperate to keep his crumbling image alive, and those nonprofits may have been part of his survival play. They saw Malcolm as a loaded threat because after everything Cosby had already faced, One more bombshell, especially from someone as respected and connected as Malcolm, could have shattered him completely. That's why, according to the whispers, Malcolm couldn't be allowed to speak. His voice was too dangerous. Cube hasn't dropped all his receipts yet, but the cryptic clues he keeps sliding out, the strange pressure closing in on him, and the eerie silence from the mainstream media all point to something way bigger brewing under the surface. If even half of what Cube is saying turns out to be true, it won't just blow apart Cosby's legacy. It'll rip the cover off a whole machine of race, power, and billion-dollar deals built to protect the elite while silencing the truth-tellers. The major outlets might be acting deaf, but Cube isn't budging. He's made it clear. Nobody's shutting him up. And the deeper you dig into Malcolm's last days, the more shady details start popping up. This doesn't sound like some wild theory anymore. It's starting to look like cold, hard reality. For a lot of people, that hits heavy. The thought that America's so-called TV dad might have been guarding a legacy not built on family values and laughter, but on fear, manipulation, and buried secrets is chilling. And now that Cube has cracked the door wide open, it feels like there's no way to slam it shut again. With Cube's voice echoing louder, more people tied to Malcolm are stepping up. And what they're revealing is disturbing, heartbreaking, and impossible to ignore. Even Malcolm's mother, Pamela Warner, who stayed quiet at first, is reportedly convinced her son's death was not just some random tragedy. Behind closed doors, she's allegedly been telling people that Malcolm had grown paranoid in his final weeks, sensing that something dark was closing in on him. Leading up to his death, Malcolm was confiding in close friends that he felt eyes on him everywhere. And he even believed someone was tracking his phone and computer. People recall how he suddenly stopped hitting his favorite hangouts, swapped cars like he was trying to shake a tail, and bailed on events at the last minute as if he knew something dangerous was closing in fast. And that paranoia, it wasn't just in his head, it came from something deadly serious. More and more people now believe that something was Malcolm's fearless plan to release a memoir that would have ripped apart the polished, squeaky clean image of some of the entertainment industry's most powerful men. And it wasn't just Cosby's name about to get dragged. Insiders say the manuscript ballooned past 300 pages, packed with dynamite revelations on exploitation, racism, and shady under-the-table deals the public was never supposed to know. Malcolm wasn't relying on memory alone either. He had receipts stacked up, years of personal journals, busted NDAS, and even sworn testimonies from insiders too terrified to ever speak in public. The project's title? Hiding in Plain View, a brutal name exposing how these dirty truths were right in front of us the entire time, hiding behind Hollywood smiles and glittery fame. And here's the part that makes it even scarier. Malcolm's wife, whose identity he had carefully kept private, reportedly knew exactly how dangerous this was. Sources say she begged him not to release the book without locking down serious legal protection first. She feared that once he went public as a whistleblower, a target would be painted on his back and there'd be no way to walk it back. One insider swears Malcolm told her directly, "If something happens to me, they'll say it was an accident." Don't believe it. That single line haunts everyone who knew him. And now, as the mourning continues, more shady details around his death keep leaking out. The official story claims he drowned in Costa Rica, caught in a sudden riptide, but people aren't buying it. But witnesses say something went down before Malcolm ever touched the water. Multiple people claim they saw him in a heated argument with a man on the beach just hours before the so-called drowning. Yet no police file confirms it, no suspect has been named, nothing but silence where answers should be. And when you start connecting the dots, the whole story collapses under its own weight. Here's where it gets downright disturbing. Malcolm's body was cremated less than 24 hours after it was found. Word is, neither his mother nor his wife ever gave permission for it. That rushed move left people stunned and furious because many believe any real evidence that could have exposed the truth was burned away forever. And if that wasn't enough, the memoir, Hiding in Plain View, the project friends swear was real, has completely vanished. Not a single page turned up in his belongings. His laptop, missing. When his personal items were shipped back home, the computer was gone. Emails to his publisher, ghosted. Backup drives he kept in a safe deposit box, suddenly off limits. It's like the entire project was wiped from existence in one sweep. But here's the thing. People close to Malcolm won't budge. They insist the book existed. They'd read drafts, seen chapters, and had long, deep talks with him about what was inside. And then one anonymous source dropped a bone-chilling detail. The opening line of the book allegedly read, "If you are reading this, then I didn't make it to the end." That single sentence is enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Meanwhile, Ice Cube is still fighting. On a recent podcast, he revealed Malcolm had reached out directly, asking him for help turning the memoir into a documentary. Malcolm reportedly told him, "They'll never let it air on cable. We have to do this ourselves." The plan? Skip the networks, release it on YouTube, run underground screenings, and spread it through pure word of mouth. A grassroots bomb they couldn't censor no matter who tried to bury it. That missing footage, if it still exists, is now seen as the holy grail of this entire mystery. Ice Cube has now taken it to another level. He's brought in a private cybersecurity team to dig through every digital trace Malcolm might have left behind. Cube's all in, determined to drag the truth into the light no matter how deep it's been buried. And here's the kicker. Cube isn't standing alone anymore. Big names are starting to break their silence. Jaleel White, yes, Steve Urkel himself, dropped a cryptic post right after Malcolm's death. Not everything you are told is the whole truth. Fans went wild, questions exploded, and the noise hasn't stopped since. That post disappeared in minutes, but not before screenshots flooded every corner of the internet. And Jaleel wasn't the only one sending signals. Debbie Allen and Tempest Bledsoe have both slipped subtle hints about heavy behind-the-scenes pressure to keep quiet. No direct shots, but the weight of their silence says more than words ever could. So why aren't more people speaking up? One word: fear. Fear of lawsuits. Fear of losing million-dollar deals, fear of being completely iced out of Hollywood's inner circle. But behind closed doors, the cracks are showing. More insiders are quietly admitting they don't buy the official story. They don't believe Malcolm's death was just some freak accident. One of the most chilling accounts comes from an anonymous executive who worked with Malcolm on a Netflix project. He recalls Malcolm saying, point blank, "There are powerful men who will do anything to stay in control. If I go down, at least I'm telling the truth." That line is now making the rounds across blogs, podcasts, and underground news sites, throwing even more gasoline on this already raging fire. Right now, the truth is buried under layers of silence, secrets, and straight-up fear. But Malcolm's circle, his mom, his wife, his closest friends, and Ice Cube aren't letting this go cold. They're connecting the dots, following every breadcrumb Malcolm left behind, and preparing to rip the curtain back on whatever darkness may have sealed his fate. The official story hasn't shifted an inch, but if even a slice of what's being whispered is true, then this isn't just the tragic loss of a beloved actor. This is the silencing of a man who was ready to risk it all to spill the truth. And if that truth rattled the wrong power players, they may have made their biggest mistake yet, because Malcolm's voice refuses to fade and his legacy won't die. One thing is crystal clear. This story is far from over. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death has already stretched beyond personal tragedy. It's becoming a symbol, especially in Black Hollywood, where speaking out has always come with dangerous consequences. Those closest to him insist Malcolm wasn't just writing a memoir, he was planting the seeds of a movement meant to empower young Black creatives, while finally exposing the exploitation too many have been forced to endure in silence. And now, that very silence is screaming louder than ever. Ice Cube is still demanding answers, and more voices are starting to rise with him, calling for justice every single day. What's really got the streets buzzing, though, a deleted podcast episode, Malcolm's final one, has mysteriously resurfaced. It was recorded just 48 hours before his death, titled "When They Won't Let You Speak." No warning, no explanation. It vanished from every platform almost instantly. But now, thanks to anonymous sources, it's leaked, and it's chilling anyone who dares to listen. In the recording, Malcolm's voice is heavy, slow, almost like a man carrying a weight too heavy to bear. He sounds drained, reflective, like he knew his time was running out. He talks of betrayal, broken trust, and being tired of being polite, tired of waiting, tired of pretending everything was fine. Then comes the gut punch. There comes a point where staying quiet becomes more dangerous than speaking out. "I'm there now." That single line has set off a storm of suspicion across the internet. The episode runs just 27 minutes, but every second drips with tension. Malcolm even drops cryptic references to unseen forces and faceless figures pulling strings behind the scenes. And fans can't stop replaying it. Malcolm's final words cut straight to the bone. He warned that Hollywood isn't about talent at all. "You think it's about talent," he said, "but it's about compliance. You're either part of the illusion or you're out." Those words are everywhere now, blowing up across social media, dissected by indie journalists, and echoed by anyone chasing the truth. For fans who always saw Malcolm as the grounded private artist, someone who stayed away from scandals, never chased headlines, and always kept it real, it's finally clicking.
What's good? Yes, I got the flower in my hair. Today's my daughter's birthday. She put the flower there, so I'm rocking it. What? It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta. I just wanted to shout out and just spread some love and some good cheer. And, you know, life is out here lifing, right? For me and for everybody else. But just wanted to remind you, as I remind myself, that no matter what's going on, there's always a reason to smile. Like, if you just take a minute to stop and take stock, I guarantee you can find at least one reason to smile. And if for some reason you can't find a reason to smile, then that's probably the best time to be the reason for somebody else to smile. So, try to smile for yourself and be a reason for someone else to smile. That's all I got. Listen to love because it's been a minute. Peace and love.
He wasn't just protecting his image, he was protecting something bigger. In those chilling final recordings, Malcolm wasn't just speaking his truth, he was carving it in stone. He even spoke of his daughter, making it clear he didn't care about leaving her fame or money. He wanted to leave her the truth. "My story won't be easy to hear," he said, "but it's mine, and I won't let them rewrite it." That single line has turned into a rallying cry, an anthem for those in the industry who are done playing along. A quiet resistance is rising, with young actors, writers, and creatives flooding timelines with Malcolm's quotes, tagging them with captions like, "We hear you and your voice lives on." Independent filmmakers are already sketching out projects inspired by his mission, determined to carry the torch and finish what he started. But while the momentum builds, so does the tension. Just weeks after Ice Cube dropped his bombshell claims, indie bloggers covering the story began reporting threats. Some had their social media accounts mysteriously flagged or restricted. One even claimed men showed up pretending to be from a media licensing firm. What started as polite talk quickly turned into full-on intimidation. Day by day, it's becoming clearer. There are powerful forces desperate to bury this story, and yet the truth keeps leaking through the cracks. This story isn't ending here. It's only getting louder. And if you want to keep riding with me through all the twists and turns of Hollywood's darkest secrets, make sure you smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe, and don't go anywhere. Check out the next video popping up on your screen for even more wild celebrity drama. In a shocking twist, a tech associate who once worked with Malcolm now claims the memoir might not be lost forever. They say encrypted backups of the manuscript could still be buried in cloud storage, but cracking them open would take major legal moves and serious time. And that's not all. A former assistant has stepped forward saying Malcolm left behind a handwritten journal locked in a sealed box at his old recording studio. Inside, potential outlines, chapter notes, dates, and names. Word is that box is now tied up in a private investigation that's still very much alive, and whatever's inside could flip this whole story upside down. While the world waits, fans are diving headfirst into Malcolm's past, rewatching old interviews, revisiting his projects, and dissecting every single word he ever spoke, searching for clues in a story that just won't fade. And suddenly, people are realizing Malcolm had been leaving hints for years. From his raw poetry in Hiding in Plain View to his gut-punch spoken word sets, he was tackling heavy truths long before anyone connected the dots. Systemic racism, mental health struggles, survival in an industry built to chew you up and spit you out. Malcolm had been trying to shake people awake, but most only started paying attention once it was too late. Now critics are asking the hard question, why has the mainstream press stayed almost completely silent? Aside from a few polite obituaries, there's been no deep dive coverage of Ice Cube's claims, no investigation into the suspicious events surrounding Malcolm's death. Some say that silence isn't accidental at all. It's protection. Protection for the same powerful machine Malcolm was trying to tear apart. A machine built on image control, burying truth, and keeping certain stories locked in the shadows. Others argue his spotless reputation is exactly why the media didn't pounce. They couldn't spin it into scandal, so they chose to say nothing. But that silence, it's louder than words, and it's only making the questions grow. Malcolm was never a scandal magnet. No messy headlines, no tabloid circus. And in a media world hungry for clickbait, that made him less profitable. But for those who truly knew him, that was the point. Malcolm wasn't chasing the fame game, he was playing the long game, and now, in death, his voice is echoing louder than it ever did in life. Behind the scenes, Hollywood veterans are reportedly gathering in secret. Quiet rooms, whispered conversations, no paper trail. Word is they're plotting a full-blown independent investigation, one that bypasses law enforcement and official channels completely. The belief? Only an outside team, private investigators, and sharp legal pros could dig deep enough to uncover what really went down. And Ice Cube? He's allegedly ready to bankroll the whole thing himself. But he's not standing alone. Insiders say anonymous donors, people with serious industry clout, are quietly putting up stacks of money to keep the mission alive. Then came the moment that hit fans hardest. Malcolm's mother broke her silence. Through a family rep, she said, Malcolm lived with purpose and left with unfinished business. That one line says it all. Nobody's letting that unfinished business get buried. Her words hit like a thunderclap, echoing across generations. Fans who grew up watching him as Theo Huxtable now see him in a whole new light. Not just a beloved TV star, but a fighter, a truth teller, a man who refused to bow down even when the stakes were sky high. And so, the fight rolls on. What once felt like the last chapter of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's story is now being rewritten by the very people he inspired. His final podcast, The Missing Memoir, the whispers of secrets too dangerous to name. This isn't just a tragedy locked in the past, it's a puzzle still unfolding. And right now, thousands of us are out here, combing through every piece, determined to finish what he started. Whether the full truth explodes tomorrow, next year, or a decade from now, one thing's undeniable. Malcolm's voice never disappeared. If anything, it's roaring louder than ever. He didn't just talk about survival, he embodied it, turning his pain and persistence into resistance, into a blueprint of excellence that can't be silenced. And now, what feels like the final chapter of this saga is really just the prologue to something bigger. Malcolm may have sparked the very revolution he always believed was possible. If anyone thought erasing him would erase his story, they couldn't have been more wrong. His legacy isn't buried. It's multiplying, spreading, and inspiring a movement that's just beginning to rise. So if this shook you, if you feel in your gut there's more to the story, don't let it vanish into silence. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep Malcolm's truth alive together, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because this isn't the end of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's legacy. This is just the opening scene of a fight that's only getting louder. We'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay loud.